A lot of trades are about to go down the next few days, but instead of making a video talking about the ones that we expect to happen, the players that we know will be moved, I wanted to make up some mock trades for players whose names haven't really come up, but I think conceivably they could be available. But again, if these trades were to actually happen in real life, they would completely blow our minds. Quickly, before we get into it, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Going to have a lot of other great trade deadline content coming out this week and next week. Plus, drop this video a like. Let me know about some crazy mock trade proposals you guys have in the comments, and a special shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Again, I told you guys, I want to build some shocking trades, but for players, I think it conceivably makes some sense to see them get moved this deadline. And one that I honestly could kind of see happening, despite some reports earlier this week that there's no way it does happen, is Elly De La Cruz from the Reds. He is one of the most valuable players in all of baseball, gets a lot of undue hate for being remarkably productive over the last few years. Even this year, I know he missed some time with injury, but if he would have been healthy the whole time, he would have had his second 6-WAR season in 3 years. I love the strides he's taking at the plate. I really think we're just seeing one of the most valuable players in baseball right now, someone who should be considered a monster trade chip, someone who honestly, truthfully, would be something close to the Juan Soto trade package we saw from a few years ago. Elly has one more year of team control right now than Juan Soto had when he was traded from the Nationals to the Padres, but also Elly's not the same caliber of player as Juan Soto. I mean, again, we have a player right here who does look like they could be one of the best hitters in the league, still plagued by some swing and miss, but that really doesn't matter so much when you have Elly's tools. You play great defense. You have the blazing speed. He's someone that right now, if he got traded, it would send shockwaves through the entire baseball world. So I'm going to head over right here to the MLB trade machine, and I'm going to build out a trade for a team who I think has some of the most prospect capital to give in all of baseball, has proven to be incredibly aggressive, and I think will continue to be incredibly aggressive, and someone that really needs a shortstop. So I think I'm going to right now add the Reds to the trade machine. Also shout out Spotrac for this great trade machine. And I'm going to add the Boston Red Sox. So right here from the Reds, let's throw Elly De La Cruz into the trade machine. And again, we are going to build a monster package for the Red Sox to give them back. I think this package, of course, has to start with Franklin Arias. To me, Arias is a top 3-4 prospect in all of baseball. Someone that profiles like they maybe could have a claim to the #1 overall prospect in baseball. He's a guy that has an amazing glove at shortstop. He's really come into his own as a hitter. Just promoted to AAA by the Red Sox like last week, maybe a week and a half ago. Still only 20 years old. He's playing the entire season at 20 years old. And again, just completely massacred AA this year while being multiple years younger than the level. Similar number of walks to strikeouts, elite power, still messing around with some speed, but also we have elite defense here. Just like a week of AAA, 3 games, hasn't played well so far. But again, we don't really care about that. He's the kind of prospect that you need at minimum to headline a deal for, again, one of the best, most valuable players, not best, most valuable players in baseball in Elly De La Cruz. And even back to this, I think the Red Sox would still even have to throw their best pitching prospects, Anthony Ianson, on top of that one. And again, I still don't think we're really close here for Elly De La Cruz. I do like from there a lot of other players in this Red Sox system. I like Endy Azokar as a player who's been a big-time pop-up player for the Red Sox this year. Just to show you guys a little bit of stuff from Endy. I just made a nice pickup for him like a few months ago in one of my big dynasty leagues, a nice 16-teamer with like 65-man rosters. He's been a great little asset. Early this year, really flashing low A, up to high A at just 19 years old. Not doing great there yet, but this guy who should be able to play center field defense one day looks pretty nice there. And then honestly, just to even make this even crazier, a recent high draft pick from the Red Sox and Masyn Winn. Because again, we want to build out a monster package for Elly De La Cruz. Again, we want this to look something similar to the Juan Soto package from a few years ago from the Padres. So Elly fills the huge shortstop hole on the Red Sox, and then Franklin Arias, Anthony Ianson, Masyn Winn, and the Azokar go back to the Reds in a trade that would definitely send shockwaves around the league, but the Reds can sell their fans. Again, you wouldn't be able to sell your fans on dealing Elly with 3 years control before the guy even actually hits arbitration, but makes some sense to trade them there now because when he hits arbitration, he's going to get a big raise. You know, the Reds don't like to pay big raises, but again, right there, you at least get your shortstop of the future who's probably Major League ready next season. You have a starting pitcher who's, again, probably Major League ready next season. Then you have 2 lower tier prospects, not even lower tier, they're still high end prospects. I'd probably consider both of these guys like top 150 prospects, but are just lower in the minor leagues, so there's more boom bust potential. And then also really quickly, just to kind of test out the surplus value of this trade, I found a cool trade machine the other day. It's from Rosternomics. Shout out Rosternomics. I checked out their Twitter account. They only have like 40 followers right now. So if you guys want to check out Rosternomics, check them out right here because they have a pretty decent calculator to figure out surplus value, which is what these front offices are trying to figure out when they're making these trades. And Rosternomics, I don't necessarily believe this to be true, but they have Franklin Arias and Elly De La Cruz as not that similar of values right off the bat. Again, don't believe that to be true. I think Elly De La Cruz could still win an MVP in his career. He's that caliber of a player. But when you throw especially Ianson and the rest of these prospects on top, a model would show this technically as a win for the Reds, despite the fact that Elly gives the Red Sox a monster opportunity to go to a World Series this season. But before we get to the next trade, a quick word from today's sponsor, Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app, and they have an incredible brand new offer that I can't wait to share with you guys in just a second. But if you're not on Prize Picks yet, here's why you should be. First up, the app is super easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, lock your lineup, that's it, you're in. Or would you rather just pick teams? Because Prize Picks now has that too. Just pick the winner, spread, or total on any game or fight. There's so many baseball lineups to make on Prize Picks every single day. I have this one going on tonight, a great ace-off, Nolan McLean versus Yuri Perez, and this one for Pirates and A's hitters too. If you guys want to follow along with my picks in real time, just check me out, my username right down there on the app. But now for that big time new offer. If you play and win your first $5 lineup, you'll get $150 worth of lineups. Just use the code HMA when you sign up and click the link in my description to download the app. That's right, Prize Picks just switched up their offer, so there's been no better time to join. Lock in and win that first lineup. Also, Prize Picks is available in most states, Florida, Texas, California, New York. So again, click the link in my description, download the Prize Picks app, sign up with the promo code HMA, win that first lineup, and $150 worth of lineups. Check it out, but please, guys, only play if you know you can do so responsibly. Now back to the video. But all right, now the next trade I want to build out, I think I kind of want to stick in the crazy shortstop world right now, and I want to see how someone can pry Gunnar Henderson in a really down year off of the Orioles. Again, terrible year for Gunnar Henderson. It's kind of really a shame to watch where he's progressed over the last 3 seasons, where 2 years ago, when he was like 23 years old, starting caliber shortstop, looked like you had a multi-year MVP candidate, the kind of guy you never, ever trade if you're a team like the Orioles. But after last year, when it kind of just all looked worse, we had the built-in excuse for the oblique injury. Then this year, everything taking a big step back again, a massive step back. He's now lost the swing decisions that used to make him such an elite player. The defense also is trending in the wrong direction at a young age. I could see Gunnar Henderson being a third baseman by the time he's 27, 28 years old. Definitely not yet. I think we have time to do that. But I think, again, another team who I would love to see take a huge swing, who needs shortstop position filled this deadline, and his third base pretty wide open in the future, and gets the most out of players offensively and defensively, and really needs to make a big swing, and I think that big swing needs to come in their lineup. I would love to see the Milwaukee Brewers do something crazy and swing a deal for Gunnar Henderson. We also know that the Brewers front office and Mike Elias on the Orioles have hung up together for some big trades in the past. Not saying that anything like this makes sense, because again, we're trying to do crazy, shocking trades right now, but it's something I could actually really technically see happening. So let's throw Gunnar Henderson here for the Orioles. And again, money will be a big deal, a bigger deal in a trade like this, but not really, because Gunnar still doesn't make very much money. But I'm sure there are two teams who don't really want to add money. I think right off the bat, I'm going to add, just again, so the Orioles can still sell, they can try and be moderately competitive over the next few years. Cooper Pratt, who's held his own through the first month and a half of his major league career, looks like a glove-first shortstop, but can definitely handle himself offensively. You go back to the Orioles right now. And then after that, I think there's going to be a mix of, again, some younger major league caliber-ish guys, but also some big-time prospects. I think the first guy I want to shout out, also guys, again, Fangraphs, always shout out Fangraphs, definitely support Fangraphs, is probably, it's not going to be Jesus Made, but I think Luis Pena really profiles as a guy that can be in this trade. He's a very, very high-end prospect. There's some lists that have him in the top 25, top 20. I think he's even really stretched out to the top 15, but there's definitely concerns over his future defensive value as shortstop. He probably winds up moving over to third base. And just in general, I think Pena is kind of a bit, I'm not going to call him like a helium prospect, but I think he's a risky prospect, so we really want to see that hit tool come together a little bit more in the low minors. He also had a health scare earlier this year where he was doing a bunch of fainting, which I'm really happy he's okay and playing consistently now, but I want to add, where is he over here? Show me Pena, Luis Pena in this deal. And then let's see what else the Orioles would want. The Orioles are stacked up on corner guys with that long contract to Pete Alonso. They still have Kobe Mayo and Jordan Westburg going to mix around at third base and DH. I don't think Jackson Holliday is going anywhere. They probably could use some young pitchers, and they probably could use some young outfielders. The Brewers, of course, have tons of those. And again, even though Gunnar Henderson's had a very down year this season, I don't really see him as being that massively of a buy low, despite some possible longer-term red flags some teams could have on him during the course of his rookie deal. And just to give a quick refresher on Gunnar Henderson's rookie deal and how much team control he has right here via Spotrac, Gunnar Henderson, not Scoot Henderson, not a basketball channel, we have 2 more years of team control for his second and third legs of arbitration. That will be pretty sizable increase in pay, I think. Again, this won't be crazy because of how bad Gunnar Henderson's been over the last 2 years, but you probably wind up getting like 12, 13 million next year and like 16 to 18 million the year after that, just depending on, anticipating some bounce back, anticipating some better play when he's a future Milwaukee Brewer. So back to the trade machine right here. Let's look back at the Brewers' top prospects list. Adam Shevsky has been a big breakout guy this year. Andrew Fisher is a diabolical corner guy. I don't see the Brewers going for that. He has big hit tool concerns. I think Luis Lara and Robert Gasser are really fun trade deadline chips right now this offseason for the Brewers because they're weirdly a bit expendable, but also for many other teams in the league. If you give me a fixed cost, really, really nice defensive center fielder or just a classic back-end lefty with some upside in your rotation, I think those are two big targets right there. I also like Tyson Harden as someone teams will go after. You probably have one more year of development on him. It's a near major league ready arsenal. I think Braylon Payne has risen too much to even get himself into a deal like this when Pena is the monster prospect going on top. So let's right now add in who I say was going to be. I'm going to say Gasser and Luis Lara. Let's just, again, we're having some fun here. We're doing some crazy stuff. Give me Luis Lara off the Brewers big league roster. They can definitely be okay losing him. And then give me Robert Gasser over here. So again, the Orioles get a nice back-end mid-rotation guy. They get a defensive first center fielder that I'm pretty sure they have Enrique Bradfield, who's a decently well-regarded center field prospect, but I think that's not that bad. The Brewers also don't have to add that much onto their major league salary this year, which will be a big deal for them this deadline, I think, only adding about $900,000 to it. And I think right here the Orioles get, where's Luis Pena? A pretty nice return for 2 years, 3 playoff runs of Gunnar Henderson. Let's run it through the roster-nomics trade machine right now, see what they think about the surplus value in this trade. I wish I was smart enough to do the surplus value calculations live like Lance Brozdowski does in his channel, but maybe that'll come for me one day. I got to try and build up to that. But give me the Orioles. Give me the Brewers right here. From the Orioles, you're sending out Gunnar Henderson, and you are getting back, where is Luis Pena? Luis Lara. Double Luis trade. Big-time trade for Luis's right here. Gasser. And who's the last piece of that trade? The last piece of that trade was Cooper Pratt. Of course, Cooper Pratt's a good one. That's how you get your major league shortstop to start next season. This thing, and again, I think this may be a bit slanted towards the surplus value of minor leaguers, but I think there's a monster package is crazy because your best piece you're getting back is still in the low minors, but you're getting 3 guys onto your major league roster. I think this would be a kind of a decent package for Gunnar Henderson, and I just do wonder if the Orioles actually wind up legitimately taking calls on him, honestly. All right, next trade we're going to make I think is going to be kind of psycho too, but we've heard so much about the Seattle Mariners this year and how they really want to trade off from their really strong rotation and improve other areas of their team. And I think that would be, of course, with a huge eye on this season, getting this team just out of their doldrums right now. Because again, you look at this Mariners rotation. I know Bryce Miller and Brian Wu have some question marks right now. Emerson Hancock and Luis Castillo, of course, the guys you're rumored to be trading. Logan Gilbert's a monster. I want to see if anything can possibly make sense for George Kirby. George Kirby has 2 more years of team control after this one. I'm pretty sure. Going to double check on that. Maybe it's 3 years of team control. I might be missing that one up right there. George Kirby right here. Let's check that team control. Yeah, 2 more years of team control after this. And probably a relatively expensive price tag because he was a Super 2 player, meaning he was called up with the chance to get 4 shots at arbitration. So right there, get rid of the stupid AI ad in the side right here. The team can get 3 bites at the playoff apple with George Kirby on their staff and 2 full seasons after that. So one thing about right now, who would be kind of the most desperate? And a team we haven't talked about yet. I'm not going to do like multiple trades to the Red Sox or multiple trades to the Brewers. Who I think is one of the most desperate teams right now in terms of wanting to add major league ace caliber pitching and also have a lot of pieces available to kind of shell out and then actually entice the Mariners in a trade like this. And to me, when I was thinking about this, the team that came up to me was definitely the Chicago Cubs. So I'm right now going to add the Seattle Mariners into this trade machine, and we're going to add the Chicago Cubs into this trade machine. I was getting in trouble with Cubs Twitter today because I was talking about how much I like Jefferson Rojas as a return for the Mets in either a trade for Clay Holmes or Freddie Peralta plus a reliever. Their fans are not very happy. I think they're a bit of prospect huggers, so I'm going to see how they actually fare with a trade like this. But checking out the Cubs' top prospect list and how it could fit into the Mariners' plans both this year and beyond, I think one thing the Mariners would honestly want in terms of their desperation for a right-handed bat, I could see the Mariners actually really liking, not as the headliner for this deal, but as just something to acquiesce and make sure this year's roster is still pretty good, is first of all a rental. Oh, did I do top prospects again? Show me roster resource. I want to see the Cubs roster right now. Is getting a big-time right-handed bat. And the Cubs have serious right-handed rental bats in Seiya Suzuki and Ian Happ. Ian Happ switch hitter, but again, hit from the right side. I think Ian Happ's still good from the right side. Whatever. Cubs fans yell at me after this. But I think those two are mildly expendable right now. The Cubs can kind of make do with their other options on offense. And again, to add someone to this mess of a rotation right now, we're going to get some guys back via injury. I mean, Ben Brown, Edward Cabrera, I think definitely this year. Kate Horton, not. Justin Steele, who really knows at this point. But let's start to build out a trade where the Mariners are trading George Kirby, which feels crazy to even throw in here. But I mean, again, we're making crazy trades right now. This is not supposed to be things that are like super obvious going to happen in real life. I just wanted to have this thought exercise, go a little crazy for a half hour with you guys. And now let's do I personally like Seiya more. I feel like the Mariners would like Seiya more. I feel like the Cubs would as well. But again, this is my trade machine. I'm the GM of both these teams. We're going to make something crazy happen. And then after that, let's think about who the Cubs have in the upper minors that could be big contributors to the Mariners this year or next year. And I think in general, when we think about that, just to look back at the Mariners roster right now, this team is just desperate for more bats. They need more bats any way they can get them. Especially, I think Randy Rosarena is gone next season, I want to say. Dominic Canzone is great. He's been a breakout star for them. Second base is weak. I think Cole Young comes along eventually, but I still don't know what the ceiling looks like for Cole Young at this point. Same with Colt Emerson. I think he's going to be a monster, but just might not happen yet. And I do question the future defensive fit for Colt Emerson as shortstop. The Cubs don't really have an obvious shortstop prospect. Jefferson Rojas is a shortstop, but he's already been mixing it up in the minors at third base, so I do wonder about his actual defensive home there and if he can even be in the major leagues by 2027. But also the big prospect in the Cubs system right now, the guy who's risen hard this year, the guy who I believe is clearly the number one prospect in their system is Josiah Hartshorn. He's been a complete monster this season. Just to show you guys, I don't think he actually has Prospect Savant numbers. Did he start out at high A this season? Yeah, well, we got something here. We just see the fact that he's crushing the ball, great ISO, K rate manageable, walk rate manageable, swing decisions quite good. I talked about him in my video a few weeks ago about ranking all the prospects in the futures game. I think he's a monster. I think if the Cubs were actually wanting to make a move like this, he has to be a headliner in it. And then past that, you probably have to give up some more pieces of extreme value here. And I look back at their system. Mobile, I don't know if that's a fit for the Mariners. I mean, maybe. They could probably use another catcher, but Mobile can't really catch. Again, Jefferson Rojas is a good fit, but the Mariners do have a bit of a glut of infield prospects. I kind of think it would mostly be Pedro Ramirez. Again, maybe the Cubs would be very, very reluctant to trade Pedro Ramirez off their roster. So maybe that just becomes Matt Shaw. I feel like Seattle would be a hellhole for Matt Shaw, but Matt Shaw and Pedro Ramirez, to me, still profiles very similar players who could perform very similar functions at the major league level. The Cubs' whole infield is locked in for the next 3 years minimum. Dansby Swanson being the least of those, Alex Bregman, Nico Horner being the most of those. That's a lot of infield to lock in right there for guys who are kind of objectively mid all around. But again, let's think about how this trade would work for either Ramirez or Shaw. I think we just throw Shaw in the trade machine right now, and then let's see. I want to see what the surplus value in Rosternomics tells me about Matt Shaw as the last piece of this trade. And if it's not enough, then we throw in Pedro Ramirez. And if that's not enough, maybe we check out what Jefferson Rojas guy we were talking about before adds to a deal like this. So right here, give me Matt Shaw, who can kind of play around the diamond, mix in as a right-handed bat for the Mariners. Again, some people might be yelling at me, but I still think Matt Shaw has a good future as a player. So boom, we got Matt Shaw here. We're adding some $3.5 million payroll to the Cubs this year. We're taking $3.5 million off the Mariners. Maybe that frees them up to make another trade, figure out another bat, get another reliever, whatever they have to do there. But I do want to check out how this looks surplus value-wise on Rosternomics real quick. So let's find the Cubs, and then let's find the Mariners. The Mariners are sending out Kirby right here. Get rid of him. The Cubs are sending out Matt Shaw, Seiya Suzuki, and Josiah Hartshorn. So Josiah Hartshorn. All right, so they still have this as a huge win for the Cubs. So maybe I am being light in some of this. Maybe I'm going to add one more prospect. I kind of like Kane Kepley. I don't know if the Mariners would, but like, why not? Maybe get one of these pitchers in here. Jackson Wiggins is so boomer bust right now. I don't even think that the Mariners have any interest in a guy like that. Maybe someone else off the major league roster then. Maybe, is it Pedro Ramirez as well? Then if you give up Pedro Ramirez and Seiya Suzuki and Matt Shaw, then the Cubs are probably not doing this deal because that just crushed all their major league depth right there. So let's just add another one of the Cubs prospects into this. A Cubs prospect that has legitimate value. Triantos is, I don't really care about James Triantos right now. Same with Kevin Alcantara. Maybe it is just Jefferson Rojas then. That's how you just add this value out. He's kind of the same age as Felton Celestine, but we still have some time before he gets his shot. It's just to make this thing work together. You are getting George Kirby for the Cubs. Yeah, it's not much. All right, so maybe this is just a trade that can't happen. Maybe George Kirby has too much surplus value for the Cubs to actually be a fit right now. But at the same time, I do think this trade calculator is a little bit low on Hartshorn's surplus value. I think right now he's considered, at least I'd consider him way higher than Matt Shaw or Jefferson Rojas. So that makes it a little bit more even, but I think if the Cubs in real life wanted to make a move like this, they probably do have to get a bit more creative, at least more creative than I'm going to be in the screen share session with you guys. But all right, now the next one I want to go through, I'm kind of in the mood to put Logan Webb on the Braves. I think that's a fit that no one's really talking about right now. The Giants should be selling every single thing that's not bolted down. That doesn't have to include Logan Webb. Of course, you don't want to trade this caliber of a starting pitcher when they still have, I believe it's 2 more additional years of team control for Logan Webb. Just to double check on that one right quick. It is, 2 more years of team control at $23 and $24 million. So it's not like he's team control for free, which can make a team like the Giants a bit more inclined to make a move when you look very, very, very far away from your contention window. But just to set this up real quick, so I think this is a trade that makes just a heap of sense. The Braves are a team that should be willing to pay a frontline starter that money, especially a guy for this playoff run and likely the next playoff run or two to be behind Chris Sale, be one of the best 1-2 punches in the entire National League. So right here by the Giants, let's throw Logan Webb into the equation. You're not retaining any of your salary. You're getting off all that. And from the Braves, this probably kind of lines up because you can give a guy like Tate Sathasine, I don't really know his name. Tate Southside has been a big pop-up prospect this year. Not the same caliber as Eric Hartman, but I think a bit better than Alex Lodice, as the Braves have just a heap of middle infield prospects right now, just up the middle players who I think would be really valuable in trades. And the Braves also have so many starting pitcher prospects who I don't know if any of them are going to wind up being aces, but I think a lot of them are going to wind up being quite good, at least mid-rotation starters. Cam Kennedy one of them. I did roster resource again. Show me the prospects. Show me the dang prospects, Fangraphs. J.R. Ritchie, who I don't think would be the top prospect in their system. If I were evaluating Didier Fuentes, but he's too valuable in the bullpen right now. Cam Kennedy is probably my favorite out of this crew, so I think I'm just going to throw him into this deal. So we're going to say it's Cam Kennedy, and it's Tate Southside. Sorry if I'm botching that name, guys, for Logan Webb, which I think is kind of a nice deal. Kind of straightforward. Let's see what Rosternomics thinks about it in the surplus value calculator right here. And then the Giants, really nice sets of the alphabet I'm going for these two guys. So right here, Tate Sathasine and Cam Kennedy right here. It says Atlanta wins the trade by a good bit. It's a lot of surplus value in Logan Webb. So let's look through the Braves prospect pool and try to add another nice piece for them. Let's think about some guys that maybe are recent draft picks, or maybe what we just do is we replace Sathasine with Eric Hartman. Like maybe that's just how we kind of make this thing make a little bit more sense. Sport Track's going to be weird with us right there. So let's take out Sathasine. Let's add in Hartman. Atlanta's winning, but not by as much. They do like Hartman more than they like Southsea, as do I. But let's just add another player here for good measure. Let's put J.R. Ritchie in this trade as well. I think he'll probably pop in a model like this because it seems like we're using MLB pipeline rankings. J.R. Ritchie's negative surplus value in this. I don't think that's true. How about Owen Murphy then? Why not, guys? Let's see if they get Owen Murphy in here. 11 mil surplus value. That makes it kind of close here. At least closer. I think that's something in real life that could be accepted because you have a pitcher right here who's going to be in the major leagues as soon as the second half. You have an up-the-middle prospect who looks like they're just on a rocket ship right now. And then you have another much more high-value starting pitcher prospect that can come through the pipe afterwards. Otherwise, none of these names are really popping off for me right now. I think Lucas Braun and Drew Hackenberg each have some helium on their own, but for the Braves, I think they would really prioritize getting a top-of-the-rotation starter. I think the Giants would also be okay with getting $50 million off their books for the next 2 years. All right, got a few more trades I want to do here with you guys, and one of the big things I wanted to do was thinking that the Blue Jays might sell, and they might sell kind of heavily, and I also think the Pirates are going to try and buy, but while they try to buy, I think they're not going to try and buy and add any actual salary to their team. So 3 players I actually had on my initial crazy trade list: Bubba Chandler, Alejandro Kirk, and Louis Varland. I'm going to try to squeeze them all into the same trade right now between the Blue Jays and the Pirates. So heading over to the trade machine again, let's select new teams, reset this thing, give Spotrac a chance to catch its breath, because while it's an amazing website, man, does this thing poop the bed sometimes. But Pirates, Blue Jays, let's start this trade up. I think the first thing to do, honestly, which is kind of crazy, the Pirates to me are going to do whatever they can to get Mitch Keller's contract off their books. It's not like a terrible contract. It's also not really a great contract either for a guy like Mitch Keller, who at this point is just kind of a starting pitcher who's never really figured it out, who's due $17 million this year, so it's going to be about $6-ish million after the trade deadline, $18 million next year, and $20.5 million the year after that, 18.4 and 20.4. It's kind of a big salary for a guy you expect to be just a 2-WAR pitcher. So I think, again, the Pirates are going to do whatever they can to get Keller off their books. And I think the Blue Jays are going to trust their professional pitching development to actually be able to make something better out of Mitch Keller. But the Pirates are not going to retain any of that salary right now. We're at the same time with now a starting pitcher going out from the Pirates to the Blue Jays, 2 starting pitchers though, because I was going to put Bubba Chandler in this trade as another great buy low for a Toronto team right now who wants to sell, but also wants to put themselves in position to compete next year. Kevin Gausman's not under contract. Dylan Cease is. Trey Savage is. again, thinking that the Blue Jays want to insulate their staff next year, this could be the return, especially for a highly valuable player like Alejandro Kirk. Highly valuable, albeit a bit flawed. But at the same time, I think the Pirates wanting to maintain their competitiveness this year and trading 2 guys from their current rotation, I think they're going to be a team that goes after Kevin Gausman. And I think they're going to ask the Blue Jays to retain 50% of that salary. So there's Gausman. Then show me Louis Varland right here. And then I would like to see the Pirates probably add one more reliever for good measure in a trade like this when you're giving up Bubba Chandler, who heading into the year was one of the most high upside pitchers in all of baseball. I think still is considered that, even though it's been a really bad rookie year. So then right there, you also send Yimi Garcia and you retain 50% of his salary as well. So in this right here, the Pirates can acquire all of these guys. They probably have to add a little something else to this, though. Let's think about what else the Pirates can add, maybe prospect-wise, but right here off the Pirates' current Major League roster, they're actually saving $3.5 million. Think about how Bob Nutting and Ben Cherington will feel when they can acquire all of this to their Major League roster, another mid-rotation guy, a catcher to alleviate some of the catching concerns. I know Henry Davis has been a good defender, but when you're in the stretch run, you probably want to improve on Henry Davis. And I love Endy Rodriguez, but Endy has so much athleticism and versatility that with Alejandro Kirk on such a great contract, Alejandro Kirk is, you just had really inconsistent years from him offensively. I think the fact that you can actually mix and match him with Endy Rodriguez, who I don't know who's going to be catcher defensively, but he can place him first, he can place him second, and I'm sure the Pirates will be able to use him all over the diamond, but $12 million for the next 4 years, Alejandro Kirk. Monster deal, which is, again, why it's going to cost a good bit for the Pirates to make this happen. Just trying to think of one more prospect, not like Edward Florentino, definitely not Seth Hernandez, one of their better prospects, but I think the Blue Jays will want somebody else of relative value. Murph Gray's been a big breakout guy this year. Wyatt Sanford also looks like a really good, toolsy young shortstop. I'm going to add Murph Gray to this. I think that's where we're going to take this and end this sucker out. Where's Murph Gray? Show me Murph. Where's the Murph? Murph Gray right on top. Dummy. So this is it right here again. A decent prospect. You're getting some money to help pay Gausman and Yimi, and you're trading Bubba Chandler, who is going to be one of the best assets in this deal, and you're getting a monster overhaul at a lot of necessary positions for your Major League team. Blue Jays fans, if you think I'm being ridiculous, let me know in the comments, but I want to see how this works out in the rosternomics surplus value calculator right here. So let's find, now we're going to kill the alphabetical thing we've been doing here. There's the Pirates, and here's the Blue Jays. So let's see this. Gausman, let's see Yimi. Kind of funny I'm typing him second. Let's see Kirk. And then let's see Louis. Louis Varland's got a good contract as well. Where's Louis Varland right there? He's got 3 years of team control left. And they're sending, double check on that, I had them sending about $5 million in cash. We'll do $5 million just to keep this thing nice and round. So give me $5 million in cash. And the Padres are sending Bubba Chandler, Mitch Keller, and Murph Gray. Bubba Chandler, Mitch Keller, Murph Gray. And right there, again, because of the monster surplus value still on Bubba Chandler, this actually has Toronto winning this trade. That's crazy, actually. Wow. Good. Good for the Blue Jays, I guess. I don't know if I would see it that way still. Maybe in real life, the Pirates do have to add another prospect to this, but I kind of love this from both sides. This might be one of my favorite ones. If you guys can tell, a lot of these trades I kind of built out in my head beforehand. Some of them I've done very much on the fly with you guys. But now, just to close it out, one that I think is going to be a bit more minor, I would love to see the Tampa Bay Rays take a shot on Masyn Winn. They're a team that desperately needs a shortstop. I think the Cardinals will be I'm not going to say they're going to be happy to trade Masyn Winn, but this bat has never come around in their organization, and they have J.J. Weatherholt, who looks like he could slide over to shortstop on a moment's notice and be an incredible player there. And while the Rays are desperately looking for a shortstop, there's not tons of really good defensive shortstops out in the open market, and the Rays really, 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 really care about shortstop defense, which is why they've kept Taylor Walls there for all these years with a 500 OPS with a fantastic glove. So for Masyn Winn, the Rays do have just so many good prospects. I'm sure this would be someone that's on their 40-man and then another lower grade prospect if I got to think about it. Maybe right now I can really quick check out Rays 40-man roster and think about who they'd want to get off that, who could actually be of value to the Cardinals. Also, the Cardinals and the Rays, Chaim Bloom, Eric Neander, I'm sure they'd like to do some business together. Does Joe Boyle get another shot somewhere else? I mean, Mason Engler, Michael Grove, I don't know right there. Maybe. Let's keep looking here. Definitely Ian Seymour. Is that crazy? Is Ian Seymour, am I being ridiculous in thinking Ian Seymour actually could be part of a deal? I'm going to go straight to the surplus calculator right now. I don't need to mess around with the SPO track anymore. Let me see Ian Seymour right here. Could that be straight up for Masyn Winn? Maybe I'm just Ian Seymour pilled. I just love Ian Seymour so much. I think that's crazy. And I think maybe in real life, I think Masyn Winn will have way more value. Oh, yeah, it's Tampa Bay winning his trade by too much. So Ian Seymour could be part of it for sure. And then let's see a 50 grade prospect. The Cardinals do have tons of catchers in the upper minors. I don't think they'll do that. I think Theo Gillen is too valuable in a trade like this. I do like Flewelling. I kind of like Ty Johnson. Is that also being too cheap for Masyn Winn? Tatum Gray? Could the Cardinals want a guy like Tatum Gray? Maybe Tatum Gray or Brody Hopkins are the move in this trade right here. Let's do Brody Hopkins just to add more and more pitching to a Cardinals team that has a lot. Let me think Tatum Gray as well. Tatum Gray. Where's Tatum? What the name? Tatum Gray. This still has the Rays winning this trade because Masyn Winn has a monstrous amount of surplus value here. It still is going to be like a 3 to 4 win player, even if the bat doesn't come around. But I think the Rays could see the bat coming around. But I think that was the last trade for this video. So again, just to recap with you guys, for the psycho trades, we had Elly De La Cruz to the Red Sox, Gunnar Henderson to the Brewers, George Kirby to the Cubs, and then it was Logan Webb to the Braves, and then the wild deal with Bubba Chandler and Mitch Keller going to the Blue Jays for Kevin Gausman, Louis Varl, and Alejandro Kirk, and close this out with a bunch of volume right here, starting pitching and a catcher first baseman type for Masyn Winn to the Rays. So that's the trade. Again, let me know if you guys like this concept. I want to think of some crazy, shocking trades. I want to have some fun. I want to do a long little screen share video here. But thank you guys all so much. More trade deadline content coming later this weekend. See you guys then.